Hi now. So we are now already in streaming. So I want to introduce your guys with a very talented game developer. It's a tie-dye game. Naum will tell us about the story about this game, and it was published by Crazy Labs, right?
Yes.
And actually, I played this game, and I think like I can be already a real house clean the business making to put some good quality color on their t-shirt and make like designer, you know. So we I'm really happy to hear about your story about everything, and the topic is very nice. I don't know. For me, it was like if you want to fail fast. It's just amazing. So, so
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, Jenya, first I want to thank you for the invitation to this wonderful event, and it's really such an honor to be in such a great company. So yeah, I am Naum Mihajlovski, and I am the chief executive and chief creative officer of Furious
Mhm,
Avocado and co-founder of Furious Avocado. So my talk would be mainly aimed towards up and coming uh, young, let's say, hyper casual development studios that
mhm,
are in the same stage as we were 1 year ago, unsure where to go. Is this the right direction? And I want to also, in this talk, put an highlight on how important is actually to learn how to fail fast. It won't be, the highlight of the topic would be not how to avoid failing, but embrace failing, fail faster so you can
mhm.
find success faster. So with that said, if we can go to the presentation, I would just like to share a bit of the background first of Furious Avocado, so we can put things into context. So, Furious Avocado is a indie game development studio, and we co-founded the studio as a group of friends and industry professionals 1 year ago. After all of us spent more than 5 years in the industry, we decided now is the right time, to realize our um, long time dream and just found our studio and go on our own. As a team, we have vast development experience behind us. Our team members have worked for previously for companies like Nordeus, like Crazy Labs and Napno Games. We have worked on casual and mid-core titles that left, big mark in the mobile games industry. Some of us have worked on console games for PlayStation that were nominated for BAFTA awards. But what we didn't have, and any of us didn't have, is actually hyper casual experience or experience of developing in this area of the market. As a studio, we have a very well-rounded, diverse skill set. As you can see from here, we have two game designers, two developers, one technical artist, one digital artist, and one 3D artist. And you may know us as the studio behind Tie-Dye, a little hyper-casual game that we tend to believe left its mark on the hyper-casual industry in 2020. So 1 year ago, we were here, like probably many other guys, thinking of starting this adventure and where should we go next. And actually, the first question we had was, this big crossroad. Where do we go from here? Is it casual or hyper casual? We don't have any experience at this point in hyper casual, and we need to assess our chances. Where would we have the best chance to succeed? Because we are in the studio, we have no external funding, and the goal is to set up the studio, to put it on a feet, and ensure that it will be something that lasts long. So we analyze actually, and this is the first step that you need to do to see what you gain from each part of the industry. So if you go into casual, what you're gonna face is long production cycle, right? Here we are talking about games that are developed let's say with our studio capacity, we can develop a casual game depending on its scope and complexity between 6 and 12 months. And then the chance to succeed is lower. Why? Just because of the sheer volume of things or concepts or games, prototypes that you can try in this time. The testing cycle is much different than in hyper casual, that it doesn't allow you to fail fast. And this, as you will see, as we go further into this talk, is something that is really, really, really important. And in hyper casual, this production cycle is really fast. Like compared to casual, is extremely fast. You get to work on a prototype, and the process itself during the years is so refined by the publishers, and it's divided in these testing phases that really enable you to fail fast. And just to drop something that it's not promising and move to something, trying something next. But what's really important beside the process is that you're gonna also, create and embrace this mindset. Um, so therefore, the chance to succeed is much higher because you're doing much, much more. You have much, much more tries, to get to success, and this is extremely important. So we made our decision to go hyper casual, and we don't know much about the space. The next ideal step that we knew we must do, just from the get-go, is get the perfect partner. And what's the better partner for this than actually the game publisher? And I would urge all up-and-coming studios to do this even before their start. Why? Because first, the publishers have this established process of evaluating ideas and testing the ideas. This process is essential, and it's very different from, if you haven't been part of the hyper casual, it's very different than how it works in the other segments in the industry. So also they have this vast experience that they accumulated over the years. You are just one piece of the puzzle, and even if you go and start developing your prototypes and testing them, it's just one slice of the sheer volume of prototypes that the uh, game publisher will test over time. So that means they have much more insight into data, into best practices, and this is something that they will be uh, able and more than willing to share with you. So then this brings us to coaching. This is part of the coaching that you're gonna receive from the game publisher, that will help you improve with each next step and each next prototype that you develop. And there's also the market research and marketing prowess that you cannot do anything on your own without them. So just to sum it up, it's extremely important to have someone by your side that will assess your ideas, that will process them, and just can advise you and steer you on the right path. And the way that hyper casual game publishers operate, and it's much different than the casual publishers. Um, so they are very approachable from our experience. So just don't hesitate. Make a contact when it's on a conference, on just an email, and we're sure that you will get a response very fast. Someone will get in touch with you, and you will have someone beside you. That it's extremely important to have someone beside you that you will evaluate and direct the game, not only from advice point in terms of let's say the core loop or the gameplay, but also from a marketing standpoint, because the hyper casual industry in terms of aesthetics is yet much more different than the casual games industry. And this is something that also you're going to have to learn fast if you want to succeed. And the best way then is just to let the game publisher advise you and guide you on this way. But with all of this said, there's one thing that must be understood. The game publisher is not a wizard. It's not like, we have this brilliant idea and now the game publisher will take it and turn it into gold. So do not expect this from the get-go, and be ready that, for the fact that getting a game in this part of the industry to the finish line is like really, really hard, extremely hard. And failure will be a big part of the process. From that you will learn, the game publisher will learn, and hopefully, with the next try you will get better. So then the question comes, if failure is such a big part of the process, how do you fail fast? We said that the process is set up in such a way that you are unable to fail because the game is tested in multiple phases. First, you have to prove its marketability. Then you have to prove if the core loop itself is good and engaging enough so you can retain the users. And at the end, it comes the monetization part, where you need to compare whether the average revenue per user is higher than the cost per install, which of course guarantees that the game would be profitable. So you just need to embrace actually the mindset of failing fast, because the game publisher will never stand in your way if you believe that some idea is really, really good, and you want to keep trying, working on it, and you want to keep hammering at it. But the faster you learn to let it go, the better for you. Which actually brings us to the answer to these questions, which is very simple, and actually the best advice we got back in the days, and the best advice that we can actually give you, and that is just high engagement, low attachment. Um, Engage yourself, to the best of your abilities to the game you are working on. Just do your best and stay devoted, stay focused, stay zealous. Um, but on the other hand, try and not attach yourself on emotional level to the product from the get-go. Be ready that this is something that will fail. Be ready for that from the start, and do not assume more than that. This will make things, letting go much, 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 much easier. And what you can do from it is just learn the lesson, take the best takes from it and move on. Apply that, what you learned, to the next prototype you're gonna work, and hope it's gonna do better. And then if you want to succeed in this space where failure is such a big part of it, and it's going to happen often and again and again and again until you get that hit, you have to have the mentality. So dedication, patience, those are the most important virtues that you can have for this. So equip yourself with those and just keep trying. um, you know, if you're here and trying to get a hyper casual game published, and you're in it for the short run, I would say don't even bother. Um, when we started, we gave ourselves at least a year to get a game out of the gates. So we were lucky to get to a release game just on our third try, but we knew that we might not get there fast. We might have to keep trying and trying, and actually that's part of what we're doing even after we released this hit game. So just you need to actually embrace failure if you want to get to that hit game eventually at some point. The prototypes that you're gonna test will fail at some stage, uh, depending on the publisher and his stance towards CTR or CPI testing. The process will start from one of those points where you have to prove first the marketability of the game, because marketability is king. We all know that. The lower the CPI is, that then it will affect the other KPIs, and they can be lower if the CPI is higher. It's actually a formula. But then if you fail at the first test as a CPI or CTR test, then the first question would be whether your game is marketable enough. And this is the hard truth about the hyper casual industry. The marketing of the games is really hard, and it's going to be hard for you. What you have to do and will have to do is actually to learn how to communicate your gameplay in 5 seconds or less. So your game has to be snackable, but also you have to be able to express that in 5 or less seconds in a commercial video, and that video should be so engaging that you have to catch your get your audience on board in the first 2 or 3 seconds. So if your game failed in this phase, you can ask yourself first these questions: how and should ask these questions. Can you make the game, the prototype, look more and be more marketable in the next video you can do? If you don't have a strong answer for this, then you should embrace failure and let the game fall, move on something next. Then you're gonna actually, ask yourself. Probably you should have asked this yourself, and you would ask this yourself before you start working on the prototype. But what is your target audience, and does this game resonate with your target audience? And can you improve actually in the next test? Things about this, whether you want to reiterate on the core mechanics, on the player experience, or maybe you want to shorten the core loop. And this actually, this more relies to the next phase of the testing, which is the retention. So say you didn't get retention numbers that you should get in order for the game to be profitable when it's published, then you should ask yourself these questions. If you have clear answer on those, clear idea, or you maybe stashed idea before you started working on these prototypes, you wanted to test it first in one way and then reiterate and test in another, then yes, probably you should retest it. But also, if you don't have a clear answer on this, clear idea where to go next, just drop it and move on. And then timing is really important part of this whole process, and timing can be really king. So also you should look at, is the trend getting old? Maybe hyper casual, hyper agile, things change on the go like in a storm. Uh, what was trend yesterday, tomorrow is already an old thing. So is the trend old, or maybe the game genre just got saturated? Everything moves here so fast that maybe someone outraced you with similar game on the market, which then would make your game less attractive and less marketable. And even if you have a clear answer to this, you still have to ask yourself what's the scope of the effort you need to pull this off. This is extremely important because, as I will mention many, many, many times in the slide, on the slide, in the talk and the slides that follow, getting more chances, trying more is extremely important. And sometimes even if you do all these things right, just the game just won't make it. And why? No one knows. Nobody will be able to tell you why. So again, best thing to do, learn from it, let it go, let it fail, move on. Um, and the hard truth about this is that actually every game that you're gonna do, every prototype that you're gonna do, is you will intimately believe that it was a great game. And I can confirm this from our personal experience. So far, all of the games that we worked actually were amazing games. And the hard thing was actually putting them out there in terms of marketing them. So just don't get attached. Don't spend more time on something if it's not worth it, and just move on to the next prototype. And actually, how we put these things into practice, I can show you just by showing uh, part of how we got a part of the story, how we got to tie dye. Um, Before getting to tie dye, we worked on two prototypes. with Crazy Labs. The first game was an amazing arcade game that we, really loved. It was our first game that we did as a studio. It was testament to our production abilities, and it was really cool game. But it just didn't make it. Why? We don't know. So hey, we let that one go. We had really hard time emotionally, although we know high engagement, low attachment. But yeah, it's not that easy, and you learn it with every next prototype that you're gonna drop, how to emotionally cope with it. And then we had a next game that we worked on, but that was a simulation game, and it made it to the retention test. Now, we were not there with the first retention test. We were, let's say, close to borderline KPIs. And we had good idea actually, how to reiterate on this, how to improve the game, because we learned, and when we analyzed the retention version, what we did wrong. We knew that the core loop is too long, that the level of flow is too low, although the core mechanics were extremely polished and satisfying, and the play experience was there. The creativity was vast that we're gonna offer to the player. But also in this case, timing was a bitch for us. Similar games of similar nature, let's say, started popping up on the stores. And although we had good idea where to go with it next, if you want to reiterate. Uh, we also analyzed what's the scope of the rework that we have to do, and it was not small. It involved all departments, creative tech. So although we can push it out of the gates, maybe with the next test, we started thinking if should we just move to the kill this game and move to the next one, and if we have good idea for our next game, we shortlisted our uh, very, very large list of ideas, and kept consulting with our publishing partner, with Crazy Labs. So it turned out that they experimented for some time with an idea based on the tie-dye team. Um, and they thought, they were kind of looking for the right partner for this to produce a game of such nature, and they pitched the idea to us. So we took a look at it. The trend was picking up on TikTok immensely. Um, the fashion industry jumped on the bandwagon. The summer was coming. All of the fashion clothes that we could find through our quick research on the internet were done in the tie-dye manner. So we really like the marketability, potential that this kind of game with this team can have. So we decided, to do jump on board. So then came the first test. What we aimed for this first test, when we have such a good idea, was we knew that we have to do the player experience top notch. That would be the key here, and that's what we set out to do. We created great player experience. The session was really snackable. The level duration was just right. So we kept the complexity of controls just uh, complex enough, let's say, in the areas where they need to be, like the actual coloring, but simplified everything else, and that resonated really, really well with the audience. So the focus would put on creativity, and the chores and the boring tasks were left out of it. The process itself was streamlined and gamified. And then our tech team just did an amazing job with the physics and the simulation of coloring, which really, made the game attach, stick to our audience. So then we put out the first test. This is a CPI test, which had only one level that you can replay and replay in a loop. It had only one type of folding that you can do, only one final outcome. No metagame, no client that will come here and request a design with some soft requirements, nothing out of that, but just extremely polished core gameplay. And then in a phase where we want to test the marketability of the game, we got the day one retention number, which was like extremely crazy. It was 48%. So yeah, from that point on, we knew we are on the right path. Um, and then it was just this hectic 3 week work without sleeping, with constant iteration and improvement on it, constant communication with the publishing partner, and assessing the right direction, where to go, what to do, getting UI expertise from them, and huge help on that department, sound expertise. um, and everything for this game from that point on was, in those 3 weeks, was original content, something that was uh, produced originally. No assets were borrowed or bought from Unity Asset Store. Everything was completely made in house. And here we are, 3 weeks later. Dedication paid off. The decision to drop the previous game at a stage where it was, and to pick up tie-dye paid off, because if we missed that window of opportunity, now we wouldn't be here, and talk about this. And these are the numbers we got just when we released the game. Day one, 68%, day two, 50%, day three, 38% retention. So, Zhenya, sorry, I can't hear you. If you talk to
I
me.
told it's really huge metrics for retention. It's really very one. It's like D1, D2, D3. It's amazing retention metrics.
Yeah, I mean, we were
Yeah,
blown away by it. You are fighting to get a game just out of the doors and to get it published. I mean, that's extreme success in this part of the industry. And then the first game you get to getting these numbers, we were mind blown. But we didn't get much time to enjoy it, actually, because the
exactly.
weeks after and after were, just perpetual dedicated work on updating the game and get
But you
release
send
the game.
them before to publisher, and or you just create the game. It's my question actually. Just you create the game and you send like the already built to them, and they pay for user acquisition and so on, or you already have had some metrics.
Sorry, can you reiterate on the question?
Yes,
You,
I'm asking about your game. You already create your game by yourself, and did you already send with metrics this game, or you already got some metrics and send already the story like CTR, retention, and so on?
no, well, this is a point where we started working exclusively with Crazy Labs after our first two games, and
Okay.
yeah. So
Like,
actually, the idea for a tie-dye game came from Crazy Labs, but we like
so
then the potential and the marketability of this idea.
story about this game, and actually, we will just continue our conversation in Pine platform because I guess our guys, indie developers, have a lot of questions to you. Also, how to get idea and so on, and yeah. So now we are going to another lecture. And thank you for your time. Really, I'm really happy to meet you, and hope to meet you offline, of course. Maybe nightmare will be happen. Nightmare not will happen. Oh my God, I'm becoming crazy. Nightmare will finish finally, and we will meet in offline conference.
Zhenya, thanks again for the invitation. Really an honor to be part of this conference, and I hope up and coming studios, some of them at least, will have this and find this advice useful.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.